Dr. Elena Rodriguez had always believed that the desert held secrets. After spending 3 years studying plants that somehow survived in the harsh New Mexico wilderness, she thought she had seen everything. Boy, was she wrong. It was a Tuesday, evening in late September when everything changed. Elena was packing up her equipment at the small research station she called home. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. She loved this time of day when the desert finally cooled down and the plants seemed to breathe easier. As she walked back to her trailer, something caught her eye. About 50 yards from her usual research spot, there was something that definitely wasn't there yesterday. It looked like a giant crystal formation, about the size of a small car jutting up from the sandy ground. The strange thing was, it seemed to be glowing very faintly. Elena stopped walking and rubbed her eyes. Maybe she was just tired. She had been working 12-hour days for weeks, documenting how tiny desert flowers managed to bloom with almost no water. But when she looked again, the crystal thing was still there, and it was definitely glowing. Her scientist brain kicked in immediately. This could be some kind of mineral deposit that she had never seen before. Maybe it had special properties that could help her understand how plants survived in such tough conditions. She grabbed her camera and sample kit and headed toward the mysterious formation. As she got closer, Elena noticed something even stranger. The crystal wasn't just glowing randomly. It was pulsing, like a heartbeat. Soft blue light would sweep across its surface, then fade, then sweep again. It was almost hypnotic. She circled around the formation, taking pictures from every angle. The crystal was smooth and translucent, with what looked like veins of silver light running through it. Elena had studied geology in college, but she had never seen anything like this. It was beautiful, but also a little scary, just as she was. About to take a small sample with her tools, something incredible happened. The crystal began to unfold. Elena stumbled backward, nearly dropping her camera. What she had thought was a solid rock formation was actually moving, opening up like a flower blooming in fast motion. Panels of crystal shifted and slid, revealing that the whole thing was hollow inside. And that's when she saw her. A figure stepped out from within the crystal structure. Elena's first thought was that it was a woman, but not quite like any woman she had ever seen. She was tall, maybe 6.5 feet, with skin that seemed to glow with its own soft light. Her hair moved as if she was underwater, floating and shimmering with colors that changed as Elena watched. The being wore what looked like a dress made of living fabric. It rippled and flowed around her body, changing colors from deep purple to soft green to warm gold. Elena realized the colors seemed to match the emotions she could somehow sense from this mysterious visitor. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. Elena's heart was pounding so hard she was sure the stranger could hear it. Her mind was racing with 1,000 questions, but somehow she couldn't make her mouth work to ask any of them. Then the impossible happened. The being spoke to her, but not with words. Elena suddenly heard a voice in her mind, clear as if someone was standing right next to her ear. But the strangest part was that the voice spoke in perfect Spanish first, then switched to English. "Please do not be afraid," the voice said gently. "I mean you no harm. My name is Zara, and I have been watching you work." Elena's knees felt weak. She managed to croak out, You've been watching me?" Zara nodded, and Elena noticed that when she moved, tiny sparkles of light seemed to follow her like fairy dust. "For many weeks now. You are different from other humans I have observed. You speak to your plants as if they can hear you. You treat them with such kindness." "Other humans?" Elena's voice was barely a whisper. Are you from another planet?" A smile spread across Zara's face, and when she smiled, her whole body seemed to glow brighter. I am from a place you would call the Andromeda sector. My people are called the Luminary. We are what you might think of as gardeners, but we tend to plants across many worlds. Elena felt like she might faint. This was actually happening. She was talking to an alien. A real, actual alien who looked like the most beautiful person she had ever seen and talked about gardening like it was the most normal thing in the universe. "Why are you telling me this?" Elena asked. "Why show yourself to me?" Zara stepped closer, and Elena caught a scent like rain on desert flowers. "Because you understand something that most of your kind do not. You know that plants are alive in ways that go beyond what your science teaches. You feel their energy, their happiness when they grow, their sadness when they struggle." It was true. Elena had always felt connected to plants in a way that made her fellow scientists think she was a little weird. She talked to them, sang to them sometimes, and swore she could tell when they were thriving or suffering just by being near them. Your dedication to understanding and helping these desert plants. "It moved me," Zara continued. "In all my travels, I have rarely seen such pure love for growing things." Elena looked around at the research station she had built, at the small garden, where she grew test plants, at the notebooks full of observations about tiny flowers that most people would never notice. Suddenly, she felt proud of her work in a way she never had before. "So what happens now?" Elena asked. Zara's dress shifted to a warm golden color, and Elena somehow knew this meant happiness. "Now, if you are willing, I would like to share some things with you, about plants, about life, about worlds beyond this one. Would you like that?" Elena thought about her quiet life, her small discoveries, her loneliness in this vast desert. Then she looked at this incredible being who had traveled across the universe and chosen to reveal herself to a simple plant scientist from Earth. "Yes," Elena said, surprising herself with how quickly she answered. "I would like that very much." As if responding to her words, the crystal formation behind Zara began to fold back into its compact shape. The pulsing light grew softer until it looked almost like a natural rock formation again. "I will return tomorrow evening," Zara said. "There is much to show you." And then, as quietly as she had appeared, Zara stepped back into the crystal. The formation sealed itself closed, and the glow faded until it was barely visible in the growing darkness. Elena stood alone in the desert, holding her camera and wondering if she had just experienced the most important moment of her life. She looked down at her camera's display and saw dozens of photos of what looked like an ordinary rock formation. Somehow she wasn't surprised. That night, Elena lay in her small trailer bed, staring at the ceiling and trying to process what had happened. Tomorrow, an alien would return to visit her. An alien who understood her love for plants and wanted to share knowledge from across the universe. For the first time in years, Elena couldn't wait for tomorrow to come. Elena spent the entire next day checking her watch every 5 minutes. She tried to focus on her usual work, measuring soil samples and checking on her test plants. But her mind kept wandering back to the impossible encounter from the night before. Had it really happened? Was Zara actually going to come back? As the sun began to set, Elena found herself walking toward the crystal formation without even realizing it. Her heart was beating fast with excitement and nervousness. What if Zara had changed her mind? What if last night had been some kind of dream brought on by too much desert heat? But just as the sky turned deep purple, the crystal began to glow again. Elena watched in amazement as it unfolded like a magical flower, and Zara stepped out with that same graceful movement that made her look like she was floating. "You came back," Elena said, unable to hide the relief in her voice. Zara's dress immediately shifted to that warm golden color that Elena was beginning to understand meant happiness. "Did you think I would not?" "I wasn't sure," Elena admitted. "Part of me wondered if I had imagined the whole thing." Zara laughed, and the sound was like wind chimes mixed with flowing water. I understand. When I first learned about humans, I could hardly believe beings could exist who were so different from my kind. Over the next hour, Elena learned more about the universe than she had ever dreamed possible. Zara explained that the Luminari didn't just look different from humans, they experienced the world in completely different ways. While humans used words and facial expressions to show emotions, the Luminari communicated through the colors and patterns of light that flowed across their skin. Watch, Zara said, and suddenly her whole body began to glow with soft blue and purple swirls. This is how I show curiosity. Elena was fascinated. So when you turned golden yesterday, that meant you were happy? Exactly, Zara said, and sure, enough. Warm, golden light began to pulse gently across her skin. We cannot hide our feelings the way humans can. Everything we feel shows in our light. Elena found this incredibly beautiful. She had always struggled with understanding what people really meant when they talked to her. With Zara, there was no guessing. Her emotions were written in light for anyone to see. As the days passed, Zara returned every evening. What started as scientific conversations slowly became something more personal. Elena would finish her daily research and then spend hours sitting with Zara under the desert stars, learning about life on other worlds. Zara told her about planets where the trees grew upside down, their roots reaching toward triple suns. She described flowers that sang in harmony with the wind and vines that could live for thousands of years, growing so large they connected entire continents. But Elena noticed that Zara was just as curious about Earth as Elena was about other worlds. She asked endless questions about human emotions, about why Elena talked to her plants, about the way humans formed friendships and relationships. Your species is so different, Zara said one evening as they watched Elena's desert flowers sway in the night breeze. You show love through actions rather than light. You care for things that cannot speak back to you. It is remarkable. Elena felt her cheeks get warm. Most people think I'm weird for talking to plants. They are wrong, Zara said firmly, her skin glowing with strong, steady light. I can sense the energy of living things, and your plants respond to you. They grow stronger when you are near them. They feel your care. This meant more to Elena than any scientific award ever could. For years, she had felt like an outsider in her own field, too emotional and connected to her work. But Zara saw her. Sensitivity as a gift, not a weakness. One evening, Elena decided to share something she had never shown anyone else. She brought out a small lunch she had packed. Fresh bread, cheese, and an apple from the town 30 miles away. Would you like to try human food? Elena asked shyly. I know you probably don't need to eat like we do, but Zara's eyes widened with interest, and rainbow colors began dancing across her skin in patterns Elena had never seen before. I would be honored to share a meal with you. Elena broke off a piece of bread and handed it to Zara, who examined it carefully before taking a small bite. The moment the food touched her tongue, Zara's entire body erupted in the most spectacular light show Elena had ever seen. Colors swirled and sparkled, creating patterns that looked like fireworks made of pure joy. Elena started laughing at Zara's reaction, which was so surprised and delighted that she couldn't help herself. And then something magical happened. Zara began to laugh too. Not the wind chime sound from before, but a rich, warm, human-like laugh that mixed with her natural musical tones. The flavors! Zara exclaimed, still glowing like a rainbow. I can taste not just the bread, but the grain it came from, the sunshine that helped it grow, even the hands that shaped it. Human food carries so much history. Elena watched in wonder as Zara tried the cheese and apple with the same explosive joy. Each new taste created different patterns of light, and Elena realized she was witnessing something incredible. A being from another world experiencing human life through her simple lunch. Is this what friendship feels like for humans? Zara asked suddenly, her colors settling into warm, steady hues. This sharing, this joy in each other's happiness? Elena felt something shift in her chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with the desert heat. Yes, she said softly. This is exactly what friendship feels like. But even as she said it, Elena knew that what she was feeling for Zara was growing into something deeper than friendship. She was falling for this incredible being who saw beauty in her work, who shared her love for growing things, and who brought magic to her quiet desert life. As the weeks passed, Elena found herself looking forward to the evenings more than anything else in her life. Her research, which had always been her whole world, began to feel like just something she did while waiting for the real part of her day to begin. And from the way Zara's colors grew brighter and more beautiful each time they met, Elena began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, this amazing alien was starting to feel the same way about her. 3 weeks into their evening meetings, Zara surprised Elena with something that would change everything. As usual, she emerged from her crystal shelter just as the sun was setting, but this time she was carrying what looked like a small, glowing pouch. "I have brought you a gift," Zara said, her skin shimmering with excited golden patterns. "Seeds from my home world. I think you will find them fascinating." Elena's hands trembled slightly as she accepted the pouch. Inside were dozens of seeds, each one different from anything she had ever seen. Some looked like tiny crystals, others resembled pearls that glowed with their own inner light, and a few seemed to shift colors as she watched them. "Will they actually grow here on Earth?" Elena asked, hardly daring to believe it. "With the right care, yes," Zara nodded. "My people have learned to adapt our plants to different worlds. These particular varieties should thrive in your desert climate, especially with someone who understands plants the way you do." That night, Elena barely slept. She spent hours examining each seed under her microscope, taking notes and photos, trying to understand how something from another world could possibly grow in Earth soil. By morning, she had cleared a small plot of land behind her research station and prepared it with the most nutrient-rich soil mixture she could create. Planting the alien seeds felt like the most important thing Elena had ever done. She handled each one with incredible care, whispering to them the same way she talked to all her plants. "Welcome to Earth," she said softly. "I promise I'll take good care of you." To her amazement, the first sprouts appeared within just 3 days. They were unlike anything in any botany textbook. Some grew with stems that sparkled like they were made of glass, while others had leaves that seemed to capture and hold light, glowing softly even in the shade. When Zara saw the growing alien plants, her joy was so intense that her whole body blazed with light like a small sun. "You have such a gift," she told Elena. "Even experienced luminary gardeners sometimes struggle to grow these varieties, but look how they respond to you." Elena felt a pride deeper than anything she had experienced in her scientific career. This wasn't just about research or publishing papers. This was about creating something beautiful and impossible with someone who truly understood her passion. As the alien plants grew, Elena began to understand why Zara's people considered gardening the highest form of art. Each plant seemed to have its own personality. The crystal-stemmed ones grew in perfect geometric patterns, while the light-holding plants seemed to communicate with each other, glowing brighter when they were close together. But the real magic happened when Elena started planting earth flowers alongside the alien ones. She chose desert wildflowers, tiny blooms that were tough enough to survive the harsh conditions, but beautiful enough to complement Zara's otherworldly plants. Something incredible occurred. The earth plants and alien plants began to affect each other. The wildflowers started developing a faint glow, as if they were learning from their alien neighbors. Meanwhile, the alien plants seemed to adapt even better to Earth's environment, growing stronger and more vibrant than Zara had expected. "This is remarkable," Zara said one evening as they walked through their impossible garden. "I have never seen such harmony between plants from different worlds. It is as if they are teaching each other how to thrive." Elena smiled, watching a earth daisy that now glowed with soft blue light swaying next to a crystal flower from another galaxy. "Maybe they're just happy to have neighbors," she said. Their garden became their secret world. Every evening they would tend to it together, with Elena sharing human gardening techniques while Zara taught her about plant consciousness and energy flow. Elena learned that plants were far more aware and connected than Earth science had ever discovered. "On my world," Zara explained, "we believe that plants are the bridges between different forms of life. They connect the earth to the sky, the physical to the spiritual. They teach us about growth, patience, and the beauty of slow change." Elena found herself thinking about this philosophy during her regular workdays. Her official research began to change as she applied some of Zara's insights to her studies of desert plants. She started documenting behaviors and adaptations that seemed almost too advanced for current scientific understanding. Her research partner, Dr. Lisa Chen, noticed the changes immediately. Lisa had worked with Elena for 2 years and knew her methods well, but suddenly Elena's reports were describing plant interactions and survival strategies that seemed almost magical. "Elena, where are you getting these insights?" Lisa asked during one of their weekly video calls. "Your recent observations about plant communication networks are fascinating, but I can't find any supporting research in the literature." Elena felt her stomach clench with worry. She had been so excited about her discoveries that she hadn't considered how impossible they must sound to other scientists. "I've just been spending more time in direct observation," she said carefully. "Sometimes you notice things when you really slow down and watch," but Lisa wasn't satisfied. During her next visit to the research station, she spent extra time examining Elena's equipment and notes. Elena watched nervously as Lisa studied her data, knowing that some of her recent discoveries could only have come from Zara's knowledge. "There are plant specimens in your samples that I don't recognize," Lisa said finally. "The cellular structure is unlike anything I've seen. Where exactly are you finding these?" Elena's heart pounded. She had been so careful to keep the alien plants separate from her official research, but somehow traces had gotten mixed in. "They're just unusual variants I found in some of the more remote areas," she said, hating how the lie felt in her mouth. Lisa studied her for a long moment. "Elena, you know you can tell me anything, right? If you've discovered something significant, we should document it properly. This could be the breakthrough we've been hoping for." That night, as Elena sat in her garden with Zara, she felt torn in 2 directions. Part of her wanted to share her incredible discoveries with the world, but she also knew that revealing Zara's existence would change everything, probably destroying the peaceful, magical life they had built together. "You are troubled," Zara observed, her skin showing the deep blue patterns that meant concern. Elena told her about Lisa's questions and her own conflicted feelings. "I don't know what to do," she admitted. "My research is becoming impossible to explain without you, but I don't want to lose what we have." Zara was quiet for a long time, her colors shifting through thoughtful purples and blues. Finally, she spoke. "Perhaps it is time for us to make our garden somewhere more private, somewhere we can continue to learn and grow without questions from your colleagues." Elena looked around at their beautiful, impossible garden, at the proof that different worlds could not only coexist, but help each other flourish. The idea of leaving her official research station was scary, but the thought of losing Zara was terrifying. "Where would we go?" Elena asked. Zara smiled, and her golden glow lit up the alien flowers around them. "I know of a place. More remote, more beautiful. where we can build an even more amazing garden. Just you, me, and all the wonders we can grow together. As Elena looked at Zara's hopeful, glowing face surrounded by flowers from two different worlds, she realized that her choice was already made. Some discoveries were too precious to share with anyone else. 2 months later, Elena stood in the most beautiful place she had ever seen. Hidden deep in a canyon that didn't appear on any map, Zara had helped her create a new research station that felt more like paradise than work. The walls of the canyon protected them from wind and prying eyes, while a natural spring provided fresh water year-round. But the real magic was their expanded garden. What had started as a small patch behind Elena's old station had become something that took her breath away every single morning. Alien plants from a dozen different worlds grew alongside earth flowers in perfect harmony. Crystal trees from Zara's homeworld provided shade for delicate earth orchids, while singing vines from distant planets wrapped around sturdy desert cacti. Elena had never been happier in her entire life. She spent her days documenting this incredible fusion of life from across the universe. While her evenings belonged entirely to Zara, they would walk through their garden as the sun set, talking about everything and nothing, sharing stories about their different worlds and dreams for the future. But lately, Elena had been feeling something she couldn't quite put into words. Every time she looked at Zara, her heart would skip a beat. When Zara laughed, Elena felt like she could listen to that sound forever. When Zara's skin glowed with happiness, Elena wanted to be the reason for that joy. The problem was, Elena had no idea if someone from another species could feel the same way about a human. Did the Luminari even experience love the way humans did? Was it possible for two beings from different worlds to truly understand each other's hearts? One evening in late November, as they sat in their favorite spot surrounded by flowers that glowed softly in the twilight, Elena finally worked up the courage to say what had been in her heart for weeks. "Zara," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "I need to tell you something important." Zara turned to face her, and Elena noticed that her skin immediately shifted to gentle blue and purple patterns, the colors of curiosity mixed with concern. "What is it?" Zara asked softly. Elena took a deep breath and looked around at their incredible garden. She thought about how empty her life had been before Zara appeared, how she had been just going through the motions of research and writing papers that no one really cared about. Then she thought about how alive she felt now, how every day brought new wonders and deeper connection with this amazing being. "Before I met you," Elena said, "I thought my work was the most important thing in my life. I thought understanding plants and writing scientific papers was my purpose. But now I realize that was just what I was doing while I was waiting for something real to happen." Zara's colors shifted to warmer tones, but Elena could see uncertainty flickering through them like distant lightning. "Being with you," Elena continued, "learning from you, creating this garden together, it's shown me what my life was missing. You see me for who I really am. You understand my love for growing things. You make me feel like the person I was always meant to be." Elena's voice grew stronger as she spoke from her heart. "I don't care about publishing papers anymore. I don't care about advancing my career or impressing other scientists. All I want is to keep learning and growing alongside you, creating beautiful things together for as long as you'll have me." Zara's entire body began to glow brighter than Elena had ever seen, cycling through every beautiful color imaginable. But then, just as quickly, the light dimmed to a soft, sad blue. "Elena," Zara said, and her voice in Elena's mind carried notes of joy mixed with deep sadness. "Your words make my light sing with happiness, but I must tell you something that frightens me." Elena felt her stomach drop. "What is it?" "My people will eventually call me home," Zara said, her skin showing swirls of silver and gray that Elena had learned meant fear. I was only meant to stay on Earth for a short time to study your plant life. When my mission is complete, I will have to return to the Luminari homeworld. Elena felt like the ground was shifting beneath her. When? She whispered. I do not know, Zara admitted. It could be months, or it could be years. But eventually, they will summon me back. And I fear that our worlds are too different, our lives too separate, for any lasting connection between us. For a moment, Elena felt her heart breaking. But then she looked around at their garden, at the proof that different worlds could not only coexist, but create something more beautiful together than either could alone. She stood up and walked to a patch of earth wildflowers that they had been growing together. Over the weeks, these simple desert blooms had learned something from their alien neighbors. They now glowed with a soft, gentle light that pulsed in rhythm with Zara's emotions when she was near them. Elena picked a small bunch of these impossible flowers, earth blooms that had been touched by alien magic, creating something entirely new and wonderful. She walked back to Zara and held them out with trembling hands. You're more beautiful than those flowers, Elena said, her eyes bright with tears but her voice steady and sure. The effect on Zara was immediate and overwhelming. Her face transformed with wonder and joy, and her skin erupted in the most spectacular display of light Elena had ever witnessed. Colors cascaded across her body like aurora borealis, creating patterns so beautiful they seemed to dance in the air around them. But it wasn't just Zara who responded. Every alien plant in their garden began to resonate with her joy, glowing brighter and more vibrant. The crystal trees chimed like bells, the singing vines hummed in harmony, and even the earth flowers that had learned to glow pulsed with warm, happy light. No one has ever, Zara's voice caught with emotion, no one has ever compared me to something beautiful before. Always, I am strange, different, alien, but you see beauty in me. Elena stepped closer, still holding the glowing flowers. You are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Not just because of your light, but because of your kindness, your wisdom, the way you see magic in growing things. You're beautiful because you helped me understand who I really am. Zara reached out and gently touched the flowers in Elena's hands. The moment her fingers made contact, the blooms blazed with brilliant light, as if they were celebrating this moment along with them. I love you, Elena, Zara said, and as she spoke those words, her entire being seemed to sing with golden light. I love your passion, your gentleness, your human heart that feels so deeply. I love how you make me see my own world through new eyes. Elena felt tears streaming down her face, but they were tears of pure joy. I love you too, Zara. Whatever happens with your people, whatever the future holds, I want to face it together. As they stood there surrounded by their impossible garden, holding flowers that glowed with the light of two worlds coming together, Elena knew that this moment would change everything. She didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but she knew that love could bridge any distance, even the space between stars. The flowers in Elena's hands pulsed with warm light, as if they too understood that something wonderful and important had just happened in their magical garden. Elena had never seen anything like what happened that night. After she and Zara declared their love for each other, something magical occurred in their garden that neither of them expected. Every single plant began to glow with such intensity that the entire canyon was filled with light brighter than the full moon. The crystal trees sang in harmony, their branches chiming like church bells. The alien vines pulsed with colors that painted the canyon walls in shifting rainbows. Even the simple earth flowers that Elena had planted were glowing so brightly they looked like tiny stars scattered across the ground. But what Elena didn't know was that this incredible display of light and energy was visible from space. High, Above Earth's atmosphere, luminary monitoring stations detected the unprecedented energy signature coming from their hidden canyon. For the first time in recorded history, one of their people had created what they called a harmony resonance, a phenomenon that only occurred when different forms of life achieved perfect emotional and spiritual connection. 3 days later, as Elena and Zara were tending to their still glowing garden, the air above them shimmered like heat waves. Elena looked up to see 3 figures materializing out of thin air, floating gently down to land beside Zara's crystal shelter. Elena's first instinct was to run, but Zara placed a calming hand on her arm. "Do not fear," Zara said, though Elena could see nervous silver patterns flickering across her skin. "These are my people. They have come because of what happened between us." The 3 Luminari were even more otherworldly than Zara. They seemed older somehow, their light more subdued and controlled. The one in the center, who appeared to be their leader, stepped forward and began communicating with Zara in rapid flashes of colored light. Elena stood there feeling completely lost as colors danced between the 4 aliens, having what was obviously an intense conversation that she couldn't understand. After several long minutes, Zara turned to her with an expression Elena couldn't read. "They want to know if what we created together was intentional," Zara said. "The harmony resonance. It's something my people have been hoping to achieve for many generations." "What does that mean?" Elena asked, her heart pounding. The leader of the group stepped forward and, to Elena's surprise, spoke directly into her mind in clear English. "Human Elena," the voice said, formal but not unkind. "My name is Counselor Liren. What you and Zara have accomplished together is extraordinary. For centuries, we Luminari have believed that true universal understanding could only come through deep emotional connections between different species." Elena felt overwhelmed. "I don't understand. We just fell in love. We didn't mean to accomplish anything special." Counselor Liren's skin shifted to warm, approving colors. "That is exactly why it is so remarkable. You formed this bond naturally, without trying to achieve any goal beyond caring for each other and for the growing things you both love." Another of the visiting Luminari stepped forward, their skin glowing with excited golden patterns. "The plants in your garden are not just growing together. They are evolving together, creating new forms of life that have never existed before. This is the foundation of what we hope can become universal cooperation between worlds." Elena looked around at their garden with new eyes. She had known their plants were special, but she hadn't realized they were witnessing the birth of entirely new species. "So what happens now?" she asked. Counselor Liren exchanged light patterns with the others before responding. "We would like to offer both of you an unprecedented opportunity. We want you to become ambassadors of interspecies cooperation, traveling between worlds to help establish botanical and cultural connections." Elena felt like her legs might give out. "Travel between worlds? You mean leave Earth?" "Not permanently," Zara said quickly, her skin showing the warm colors of reassurance. "We would split our time between many places, your Earth, my home world, other planets where we could help create gardens like this one. We would be building bridges between different forms of life." The 3rd Luminari, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. "Elena Rodriguez, you would become the first human to officially work with our species. Your love for growing things, combined with your natural ability to connect with Zara, makes you uniquely qualified for this role." Elena's mind raced. 6 months ago, her biggest dream had been to publish a paper about desert flowers that might get read by a few dozen scientists. Now she was being offered the chance to help connect entire worlds. "But what about my research? My life here?" she asked. Counselor Liren's colors shifted to understanding blues and greens. "Your research would continue, but on a scale beyond anything you have imagined. You would study plant life from across the galaxy, document how different species can learn to thrive together and help create gardens that could feed and heal entire civilizations. Elena looked at Zara, whose skin was cycling through hopeful golden tones mixed with nervous silvers. She could see how much this opportunity meant to her alien love, but also how much Zara wanted Elena to feel free to choose her own path. "If I say yes," Elena said slowly, "we could stay together?" "More than that," Counselor Lirin replied. "You would become partners in the truest sense, working together to spread the kind of harmony you have created here to worlds that desperately need it." Elena thought about her old life. The loneliness, the tiny discoveries that no one seemed to care about, the feeling that she was meant for something more, but not knowing what. Then she looked at Zara, at their impossible garden, at the proof that love really could transcend any difference. "Yes," Elena said, and as the word left her mouth, every plant in the garden blazed with celebratory light. "Yes, I want to do this with you." The joy that erupted from Zara was so intense that it created another light show visible from space. The visiting luminari glowed with approval, and even the serious Counselor Lirin began to shine with what Elena was learning to recognize as happiness. 6 months later, Elena sat in what had once been her small research trailer, typing her final report to Dr. Lisa Chen. The official story was that she had accepted a position with an International Botanical Conservation Consortium and would be traveling extensively for field research. Only Lisa noticed that the return address was listed as Sector 7, Andromeda Research Station, and that Elena's final photos showed plants that definitely didn't exist in any Earth-based botanical database. Lisa smiled as she filed the report, finally understanding why her friend had become so secretive and so happy. The truth was even more wonderful than the official story. Elena and Zara were now living on a space station positioned between multiple worlds, surrounded by the most incredible garden in the known universe. Every day brought new discoveries as they helped different species of plants learn to grow together, creating food sources and healing medicines that could benefit countless civilizations. But the best part of Elena's new life wasn't the amazing discoveries or the chance to work with alien technology. The best part was waking up every morning next to the being who had taught her that love really did know no boundaries, and who still glowed with happiness every time Elena told her she was more beautiful than any flower in any garden across the galaxy. Their love story had become the foundation for a new era of cooperation between worlds, proving that sometimes the most important discoveries happen not in laboratories, but in the quiet moments when two hearts recognize each other across the vastness of space.